Hey guys, welcome to this channel, and this is kind of an exciting day. So if you guys don't know, haven't caught up with the DC Extended Universe news or anything, if you guys don't know, ever since the 27 release Justice League, ever since that movie bombed, Zack Snyder has been given hints of has been on not just on Twitter, even on another social media platform I think called Vero, has been showing like pictures of clips of his versions of Justice League. If you guys don't know what's going on, so recently Warner Bros. Has announced a Snyder, and this is on the official Batman vs Superman Instagram account, the official Justice League Instagram account. So Warner Bros. Had announced the Zack Snyder's Justice League cut of Justice League, and it's coming on HBO Max. I'm sorry, in 2021. I will put the link down in the descriptions below. But yeah, so yeah, they announced it, and let me give you the brief history of what's really going on. So, and this was I'm going to tell you the whole story. So this was back when Christopher Nolan was doing The Dark Knight Rises, right? He was filming Dark Knight. He was in production of doing Dark Knight Rises, and of course, that movie was released in 2012. By the time they would start production, they started filming and started production on that movie. It was I think 2010 or 2011. By that time, Marvel was releasing some movies leading up to the Avengers. Some Marvel movies were good, but some were bad. But they all will lead up to Avengers, and they wanted to have individual solo films and have just Easter egg tying into the Avengers, like having Nick Fury in every Phase 1 movies except for the Incredible Hulk. But you also you had Tony Stark making a cameo in Incredible Hulk, but all these movies will lead up to the Avengers. And they were well deep into it because by the time Dark Knight was released, Avengers was also released the same year, and The Amazing Spider-Man had released the same year. But what happened was Christopher Nolan was like, "Yo, we should make a new Superman movie, a retelling of the origin movies, just like how he did with Batman Begins." And so we haven't gotten a Superman movie since 2006. Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, and that movie was kind of weird because it was a sequel to Richard Donner's Superman movie, but also a reboot, so it was kind of confusing. But yeah, that was the only movie that Superman movie at that time that we only had in the 21st century, because before that we had no other live action Superman movies ever since the last movie that came out in the 80s, which was Superman for the Quest for Peace. And so Zack Snyder wants let's do a retelling of Superman's origins, because at this point, no one, I'm pretty sure not a lot of kids have seen the original Christopher Reeve movie, which was the 1978 origin film Superman. So yeah, they wanted to do that, and this was by no means, he didn't want to do a whole universe. This was just originally like its own universe and whatnot. Yeah, so he wrote the story with David S. Gore, the guy who worked with Christopher Nolan on the Dark Knight trilogy, and was like, here's the story, Warner Bros. We want to do this. Get someone to direct the film, and so they hired Zack Snyder. And here, let me give you a context on why they hired Zack Snyder. At this point, Christopher Nolan didn't want to do more superhero films, and besides The Dark Knight being one of the most successful DC movies in the 21st century, there was no other successful superhero movies. Watchmen was the closest one at that time, and so they hired Zack Snyder, the second best director of Watchmen, the second best DC director. And so they had made us. So they had made produced. So they had made Man of Steel, and of course, it it wasn't a complete terrible film, but it was not a good film. It was an okay film, and a month after its release, Warner Bros was like, "Yo, let's release Justice League, this whole Justice League universe." And so what happened was, yeah, so Zack Snyder was kind of like the head in a way, but he was not just that head. He also had to direct Batman versus Superman, and Justice League, and several other like Man of Steel sequels and Justice League sequels. And he had to produce all the DCEU films. So meaning, if you see Suicide Squad, like the casting of Suicide Squad, you can see Zack Snyder had helped write and produce the film, including what's it called, Wonder Woman, the 27 release movie Wonder Woman. Yeah, so and the thing was, it was not like, oh, and it's not his fault for like kind of like rushing through it. It's kind of also Warner Bros. Fault. So he had to rush through all these films because what happened was he had to direct Batman versus Superman, get and make that movie the setup to Justice League. And he also, at the same time he was filming that movie, he also had to help produce Suicide Squad, which was being filmed at the same time. And of course, those movies did not were not well received. And he, at that time, and by the time they released those two movies, Zack Snyder was filming Justice League, and also had finished production on Wonder Woman. And here's the thing, Zack Snyder had filmed almost the whole entire Justice League movie, but by the time they got to, I think, post production, they fired him. If you guys are a comic book fan, you guys might feel like you guys heard the story before. This happened with Superman 2, and I'll get that story later and compare Justice League situation with Superman's situation. So what happened was, he was fired and replaced by Joss Whedon. And apparently they used the excuse for firing Joss Whedon, for firing Zack Snyder, that his daughter had passed away, which was true. But at the same time, he was actually fired way before his before Zack Snyder's daughter had passed away. We were replacing him with Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon had announced that he was only doing 15% of the reshoots. But that was false, because if you see the whole entire film was a Whedon film. Only bits and scenes you guys can tell were Zack Snyder's. And yeah, the movie overall did a little bit better than Batman vs Superman, but it was still awful. After that, Zack Snyder on Twitter and on Vero has been showing screenshots of his scenes that he had directed himself and whatnot. And of course, there are petitions to release the Snyder Cut. And now Warner Bros. Had announced the Snyder Cut, and as I showed you, this is really happening, which is getting bad, because of course Zack Snyder is not he's not a good director. But at the same time, this is the second time Warner Bros. Has done something like that. And let me get to this right now. So I think it was around it was around the time around the 1970s. They had Warner Bros. Wanted to develop a Superman movie. So of course they sold kind. So at the time, they were like, I think, a Turkish family or something. They had at the time, they were sharing rights with Superman with Warner Bros. And what happened was, they wanted to shoot Superman 1 and 2 back to back. And what happened was, of course, the first movie, what happened was, during the production of the movies. Like, the thing is with Superman 1 and 2, they were like they were filming like scenes for both Superman 1 and 2 at the same time. So like, for example, if they were filming a scene in Daily Planet, they will first film the scene for Superman 1, and when they will finish that scene, Daily Planet scene for Superman 1, they will film a Daily Planet scene for Superman 2 at the same time, the same day, so that they don't have to finish the first film and then go back and shoot, go to the same set and shoot Superman 2. They wanted to do it at the same time. What happened was, I guess he ran out of money, so they were like, hey, this is a risky business. If you release two films at the same time, and if it's not well received, then yeah, then it's not going to be good. Let's first finish making the first film. If that's successful, we will continue with the second film. And the thing was, at that point, when Richard Donner, the director, had finished and released Superman 1, he had already completed 70% of around 78% of Superman 2. He had to shoot a couple scenes and redo the ending, because originally the original ending for Superman 2 was for Superman to go around the planet and do time travel, but they had to place in the first movie just because they ran out of time and they had no clue how to end the film, and they didn't want to initially tell people that they are doing a sequel, because if they do and this movie was not well received, they can just scrap the Superman 2. But this movie was well received, so he had to redo the ending. He was planning, but what happened was he was fired by Warner Bros. And the Soulkinds, and replaced him with Richard Lester. So Richard Lester had worked with the Soulkinds and needed money, because at this point, there was legal case issues with the Soulkinds and Richard Lester, over Richard Lester not getting paid for a previous collaboration movie that they had worked on, The Three Musketeers. He finally got paid for them. He finally got paid by the Soulkinds for Superman 2 and for this movie, the Four Musketeers. I can't. Sorry, but what happened was, at this point, Richard Lester had reshot like almost half of the film. Like, not just make his own new scenes, but reshoot that same exact scene that Richard Donner had already made, which was weird, just so that he can get director's credit. And of course, that movie still got good reviews, just because it was mostly because it kind of stuck with the visionary of Richard Donner. And what happened was, they went on Warner Bros. Hired him back to do Superman 3, but the thing was, it was an entirely non-Donner, and it was a entirely Richard Lester directed movie, so it ended up being terrible. So just like that, Richard Donner was completely hurt, and he, for a long time, didn't step into the superhero into the superhero genre until the year 2000. He and then I think, well, not 2000, 1999. So in 1999, he helped Bryan Singer film the first best Marvel movie, which was X-Men, which was released in 2000. And then what happened was, when he heard that Bryan Singer was also doing a Superman movie, he jumped on board and asked Warner Bros. If he can re-release Superman 2 by his own cut of the movie. And the thing is, this was and by the time he had started on his director's cut, it was already 2004, and that same year, Christopher Reeve had passed away and everyone else was old. And yeah, because they had filmed Superman 1 and 2 in the 70s, and this was around 2004, 2 years before the Dawn of Superman Returns would have released in theaters. So he did the best he can. Of course, that movie is not as good as the theatrical version, but the theatrical version is not as good as the Richard Donner cut. So there's some things that are good and bad. And here's the thing: with the Snyder cut, Snyder does not have the same issue as with the Richard Donner, where like all the actors who were in that movie are old and can't do reshoots. Snyder is able to do some reshoots and film some scenes because, of course, that movie was filmed in 2016, released in 2017, and it hasn't been a long time since Justice League was released. So yeah, please comment please comment below if you guys are excited that Justice League is being released again, but a Snyder Cut version. And give this video a thumbs up. Please share this with everyone else. Hit the subscribe button, and let's try to get up the views to that. I can be a full-time YouTuber and not just the views, the subscribers, so that I can do the best that I can to be a full-time YouTuber for you guys and do skits, vlogs, and everything. So yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, as always, stay safe. As I was editing this, I actually went on Twitter and saw this tweet from Zack Snyder, and he's saying this is official. And what's cool is you don't also have, not just the official DC account has commented this, but Subway, the official Subway account, let's see, Greg Miller. And what's also funny is Looney Tunes. Dude, this is so funny. Let's see if we can see anyone bigger. Oh, him. That's dope.